overt and in your face and disruptive to what you're doing as a player. And so that's kind of what we think about is our main threat is the gameplay that you're experiencing, and then it's about how do we wrap story throughout that experience so you're gaining it as you go along, and understanding more through what you're experiencing about what your character's going through and what you're seeing and hearing.
Yeah, I think there can be a tendency to think about, when you say story in a game, people think about all cutscenes and voiceover and things like that. And those are really important tools, but more important is that sense of place within the environment and telling story on the backstage, as you're sort of walking through and experiencing it. And all the other tools that we have at our disposal, like the music and sound and things that just together, all of these different tools enrich the experience and give it greater narrative context. But then for the player who just wants to run, gun, shoot things, it never feels like it's an obstacle or a burden, and that's kind of our goal.
One thing about the Master Chief character, it seems like it's maybe kind of a challenge, especially as you're trying to focus more on his character, is that he's a similar problem that maybe DC has had with like Superman, where he's just like he's super tough and he feels like he's almost invincible. Like how does that like influence the storytelling in this new trilogy, and is that something you has it been something you've had to like work with? Is it interesting to play with that aspect?
I think it's interesting to think about the Master Chief and think about what would it mean for Chief to experience failure? What would it mean for Chief to have to deal with that? And it's something that he's definitely had to deal with in his past, but it's never really come forth within the games. And so that's a really interesting thought. I think it is a challenge when you're dealing with a character who is so perfect in so many ways, but then beneath every sort of surface of perfection, there's got to be idiosyncrasies and the things that make each of us tick, and those are the things that I think are so interesting to me personally.
Yeah, I mean he's iconic, and players already have an expectation around who he is, and so we want to be careful, very careful about that. But I think there's a lot we can do in terms of the player understanding a little bit more about the decisions they have to make and he has to make, that just give a little bit more of an insight into him without sort of disempowering the player or making him too vulnerable. Or I think that's the hard balance, right? Is how do we give him some extra layers of interest without making the player feel like they've been diminished or he's been diminished in any way?
I think a lot of that comes from putting him in situations where he needs to make tough choices, where the solution isn't always obvious, and then that really helps express more about who the character is, depending on the choice that he makes.
Do you guys feel, I guess, being able to start the new trilogy, that you're able to have kind of a freedom that maybe, with Master Chief and Cryosleep and off starting up a new thing, do you feel like a lot of freedom to take the Halo universe where you want to in Chief's story?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good runway, and we have an amazing foundation, obviously, to build on. But yeah, I mean, this is part of where Frank's involvement, and when we think about where we want the universe to sort of go and where we want to take players, this trilogy really gives us an ability to start to explore some different and new things, and expose more of the universe to the players. So I think definitely gives us some more freedom from a fiction standpoint, and where Chief can go and what the player can experience. With that, we're always going to come with being very grounded, obviously, in where we came from with the first trilogy.
It's important to recognize that this is a continuation of the story.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one in that we're taking the story to new places and experiencing new things, but at the same time we have to always keep in mind the history to date and how to make sure that we stay true to that and to the characters that are a part of this world.
So with Anniversary, there's the Reach engine for multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
There is what I believe is like a new engine for the new visuals.
Mm-hmm. There's a hybrid engine for that allows you to play both in classic mode
mm-hmm.
as well as in the enhanced graphic mode.
And as far as Halo 4, is that the enhanced graphic mode, is that somewhat part of this Halo 4 engine, or does Halo 4 use a lot of Reach, or how is the engine being handled on that?
So it's different from Anniversary. I mean, I must reveal a code name for a second. This is an engine based on some of the past Halo tech, for sure. But it's also something this team has been working on to sort of optimize it for what we're doing. And so it's a completely internal piece of technology. But it is based on a lot of the Halo foundational tech.
You've spoken about using a lot of Halo framework and a lot of things in the past. Going forward, are there any elements from the traditional Halo mechanics that you guys have been excited to tweak or play around with?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I talked about at the panel is just how, as a team, it's been this really, really great kind of exploration for us, where we've wrestled with what are the things that we carry forward, what are the things that we maintain to keep that amazing Halo feel, while at the same time exploring new mechanics and new ideas, whether it's new weapons, new capabilities that Chief and Spartans may have that really deepens the sandbox that's at the player's disposal. But there was always amongst our team a real desire to stay true to the core of what Halo gameplay is, so that when you pick up the controller and you play the game for the first time, there's no doubt in your mind that yes, this is absolutely Halo. It feels like Halo, it plays like Halo. It's different, it's new, it's fresh, but it has that familiarity that I think people will expect from a Halo game.
Yeah, and we went through a lot of really sort of deliberate exercises looking at vehicles and weapons and sandbox behaviors across all of the games, since they changed a lot as well across games, and looked at, what is the Warthog behavior that we liked across the games, because it was different. And when we look at specific weapons, what are sort of the favorites across the series? What do we keep? What do we abandon? And then just a whole suite of new things we tried. We probably threw away more than we kept in new sandbox items. But yeah, I mean, we looked across the series and kind of disassociated each of them. Warthog in Halo 1 was different from Warthog in Reach, and where was the sweet spot to land
Very cool.
on.
Well, I understand that Bungie came out for Halo Fest and did some panel work with you guys, and it sounded like it was a lot of fun for everyone involved.
That was awesome.
Is it everyone wants to build up some kind of 343 versus Bungie rivalry, but maybe could you guys shed some light on like how the actual, relationship, has been the last, as they've kind of passed the series on? And
I think we've partnered together for such a long time that we kind of built up a good partnership between the two studios, and that's made the whole process probably easier. But I think it's always hard for someone when I'm looking at it from Bungie's perspective. They, for 10 years they built this incredible universe and this incredible experience, and for them moving on to their next great thing, it's always going to be a little bit bittersweet. And so I think it's natural for people to try to read something into that, but we've always found common ground around our love for the universe and our respect and devotion to the fans and the community around the universe. And for us at 343, so many of us came here to work on Halo based on a love for that universe, and so we have a tremendous amount of respect for Bungie as the creators of the original Halo.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all part of the sort of Seattle game dev community as well, so there's good friends in both studios, and I think that piece will always be there. I think there'll always be, because we're game dev studios, healthy competition between studios, but that's good, right? We look at it as it helps make us better, and it allows friends, mutual friends at the bar to snipe at each other.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with us, and definitely excited to hear much more about Halo 4 in the future.
We're very excited to share more in the future. I think people think we're like, it's hard for us to keep the secrets, for sure. I think everyone's really excited to spill all the beans, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because like for you guys, it's been so long working on it, but for the fans, it's like it's so long before it comes out.
Yeah.
It must have been tough to kind of figure out where you wanted the official announce to kind of land.
Yeah, and you know, someone was asking me at PAX about, you know, how do you keep things secret for so long? And I think for us and the team, you know, some secrets are worth keeping, right? We want people to be able to experience some things without having the knowledge that they're coming, and really kind of have that moment of excitement when they first go into the game. So some of those secrets are easy to keep, but some of them are a little harder.
Yeah, it's
It'd
definitely hard to have gone for so long without talking about the game, you know, just even being able to announce it. But every time that we think about wanting to share more with the fans, we always have to balance that against our desire for people to experience things and have those surprises without us spoiling it for them. So as much as people will probably plead and beg for us to reveal